She's being dishonest. You need me.
This is why the beauty industry is so toxic, and I'm over it. I didn't realize that it's not regulated.
I will never fly United again in my life.
Stop.
So this is going to work at the gate? She goes, let's hope. No!
Where is this survey that you're asking people what they don't want more of?
Who's this Regina George?
You can't wear eyeliner anymore. No white eyeliner for the rest of the year. And the fact that Patti Lupone is like, get away.
She is brutally honest.
I love her.
I know.
Love this woman.
You're listening to PBS. It's due to proud supporters like you.
Stop it.
We have had a morning setting this up.
Oh my God. Well, welcome back to another episode of Beautiful and Bothered.
There you go.
It has been quite a journey, and I am about to get rolled out. I'm
about to get railed. That's what I thought you said.
Just get the gurney. This has been an hour and a half process.
Literally just setting this up. But we got there. We did it. So, hi, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Housekeeping. Thank you to everybody from last week's episode that told us that the little thing of fabric is called a bolt.
My mother texted me. I was driving to work, and she texted me, and she goes, it's a bolt. I was like,
yeah.
Thank you.
No other information. Hope you're well.
She goes, it's a bolt. I was like,
Thank you, Kevin's mom. We appreciate it. Thank you for everyone that gave us advice about returning Amazon products. Two new chairs came in. They're as big as couches.
I'm on the big comfy couch.
Literally, I like it. I love it, though.
It's amazing. It's very spacious.
I know.
I like that. And the arms.
It's beautiful arms.
I love it.
I know. My lazy ass. I need armrests.
Oh, this feels amazing.
I know.
I am that bitch in this chair.
100%. And I love a chair that you can, like, they always make fun of gay
sitting. Gay people can't.
Like, yes, look at this.
These were made for big old queens.
I know. I haven't returned the old chairs yet, but we will definitely keep you up to date on that saga. So
we need to take a trip to Kohl's.
100%.
I got to see this go down.
We'll make a vlog about it.
I need to see it. I need to see this go down, of their facial expression bringing in those two chairs and been like,
yep.
What are we supposed to, do you want me to take this now?
A lot of people told us as long as they bring in the chairs and have the QR code, that's about it.
I saw somebody that said have a separate QR code for each one. I said, Miss Ma'am, it's in the same order.
I know.
I said, they're getting one.
They're getting whatever Amazon gives me for a return code.
That's it.
So today's episode, we wanted to talk about the future of beauty, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. It was funny when I was mulling over like what my thought process of the future of beauty is. I kept going to like the way people behave because I think so much of the beauty industry is indicative of like these influencers' behavior, and it's just insanity. Because you think about it, the way influencers handle themselves and present themselves directly affect people's willingness to want to like learn and be involved in it and teach themselves and learn from these people. So the more toxic their behavior is, I feel like the less apt people are to get into it. You know what I mean? Like, because back in the day when people were less problematic, I felt like more just regular people that loved watching them were excited about makeup because it didn't generate like an eye roll of like, oh my God, you know?
And you're based on just what they're doing with their makeup or just their attitude towards everything?
Their attitude. Because we even said it a while ago, back in the pre-drama YouTube days, it was so much more fun, colorful-wise. Like people were wearing pink lipsticks and brands were coming out with more colorful stuff. Yeah. And I feel like people were experimenting with it because they weren't as tired of the way influencers behaved, like these content creators behave. So I feel like the way they handle themselves socially and morally actually dictate more of people's willingness to get involved in a way or wanting to interest themselves in the community in general. But that also brings me to the people I watch that are so unproblematic and have never been problematic, like Allie Glines. It just like kind of breaks my heart that they are obviously so successful, but that they're almost not the stars of the industry. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Because I think until you're problematic, it's like, oh, I haven't made it yet. I'm not in a scandal, or like you haven't been canceled yet, or or involved in someone else's cancellation, that it doesn't get your name out there as much. But that's not true at all.
I know.
But unfortunately, it's what I feel like sometimes brands almost feed into it. They're like, oh, you're problematic.
100%.
Like, oh, that's coin.
100%. And I've even noticed it, and you can relate to this as a guy in beauty. I've had so many conversations with managers or potential managers over the like past 2 years of my career where I've said to them, you know, there's limited seats for guys as it is, the opportunities they get. We went to a philosophy event a couple weeks ago. Literally, like, let's pretend I didn't bring you. I was the only guy there.
I couldn't believe it, too, because it was...
Out of how many?
I mean, that was...
there was what? Almost 50 people there?
At least 50. And then the only 2 men in the room besides someone presenting. Yeah. And I mean, let me say this, male presenting too.
Yes.
You know, not to make assumptions, but it's also too, it's like for 2 men that identify as men in this industry, and then we were the only 2 in the back row. I was like, oh my God. I'm like looking around, I'm like, no, this is a little uncomfortable.
And I've said to managers that I've interviewed, potentially wanted to work with, getting into doing the podcast and doing things that are more personality, quote unquote, focused, is because as a guy in the beauty industry, just doing beauty isn't always enough to like catapult you to that next level, because all the male influencers that have come before me who have gotten really big have had this element of like reality star drama BS. So, and it's not even, I can't blame the industry. I blame the people that still put these people on pedestals and now kind of expect that out of the way they behave. And that has translated with someone like me of trying to advance my career. I don't get the opportunities other people get unless I start diversifying myself even more as not just somebody that does beauty, as somebody that is a personality. You have to let people in so much more to who you are and your personal life than just like an Allie, who she lets us in a little bit to her personal life and her goings on, but 95% of her entire career has been her in front of the camera, putting on makeup, loving makeup, and that's enough for people. But when it comes to guys, that does not propel you. You have to have
you have to
different.
Be on like the tightrope and jumping through the rings of the circus, like trying to get even noticed by a brand, which I think is very sad too. And I mean, look at all the brand trips, all of these events and everything that don't, you know, they claim that they're inclusive, but it's not always just one avenue of inclusivity. You know, make sure all your T's and I's are crossed and dotted, that you invite everyone and make it feel like an open, welcoming experience. And a lot of these brands, I think, are the root of the problem. Who they invite is like very like, well, clearly, you know, it's all these people that look the same, no
exactly.
T. It's just, oh, like, my God, well, it was insulting.
It's the same thing as like when the whole Michaela Mascara thing went down and everybody chose to resurrect Jeffree Star. Like, and we talked about it a little bit maybe on another podcast, but it was so funny to me that the 2 people that were quote unquote had canceled drama that chose to, she's being dishonest, you need me. Drum roll, Jeffree Star and James Charles. Let's dissect that. First of all, the nature of you even coming back, you're feigning this fake sense of integrity while, not surprisingly, capitalizing on a dramatic drama situation and putting someone else down to give yourself more credibility. Okay, the nature of how you behave is exactly the same as how it's always been. And moreover, anybody who even had this attitude of like, well, Jeffree Star is the only person that's honest. If that's truly what you feel, you need to follow more people. There is thousands and thousands and thousands of makeup influencers that are very honest, but they're not as showy honest as Jeffree Star. They're not telling you how honest they are every 5 seconds. And drumroll, Jeffree Star turned out to be dishonest many a times. Many a times. But he reminds you how honest he is. So that's enough for you to go, he's the most honest person. What?
Yeah, and like you're saying too, and it even goes back to last week's episode too, when you talked about Huda basically getting that credibility for taking down somebody else, which obviously she has since apologized. It's the fact of the matter of like these influencers having the need to like, okay, let me respond to this and take this person down and take down this situation. Instead of making like a generalized video of like, let me review it. It's like, okay, let me call her out on her bullshit right now.
Yes.
It's this very weird, like, this is why the beauty industry is so toxic and I'm over it.
I know.
I'm so done with that. Like, leave it alone.
Totally.
Who cares?
And I'll get back to the future beauty conversation, but some people in the comments were saying, talking about James Charles announcing that he has his makeup line coming out in the summer. painted.
I did see that.
One of the most flabbergasting situations to me. And listen, it's made me really question my own sense of like, okay, someone does something wrong. So what is the appropriate kind of response?
Because make money.
I don't believe in cancel culture in the sense that like it makes you say, what's the end goal? Like, does he need to be, burned alive in the town square? No, because that's where you would take it. But I have to say, I am, for what happened with him, like actual omission of him sending nude photos to underage, like 15, 16-year-olds, and still having 26 million subscribers. People are just like, oh, well, whatever, while having the same conversation of like, okay, he apologized, which I cannot believe he said in the video, I'm desperate, so that's why I did it. But again, I don't even know how one apologizes for that, because it's beyond my realm of comprehension to do something like that. And it makes you realize, the people from the other side that love to condemn queer people and everything that's going on right now with drag queens and groomers, whatever. Here is one of the biggest people, gay men in a woman, quote unquote, space like beauty, literally doing that.
Doing exactly what we're all being accused of doing, which is, that's not fair to generalize gay people or queer people into this box that we're all doing what he's doing.
Yes.
Because that is not the case. And it bothers me too, of someone of his caliber saying that he's desperate. I just think, to me, that is like the biggest cop-out ever, because you're saying
desperation would never drive me to that.
No, I'm sorry. What? Like, what does that even mean?
I know.
You're one of the biggest influencers, or you were one of the biggest influencers, and you're going to claim that you're desperate? I'm sorry. I just have a very hard time believing that if you really wanted to date someone seriously and find love, there are ways. Please, like, how do you think celebrities do it? Like, like I'm talking A-list. People find love.
Yes.
And even when they're desperate, you don't see A-list celebrities going around like
100%.
Like, come on.
Lady Gaga can't go to Subway without probably getting mauled. You know what I mean? Like, you're not on her level. And is she doing that?
Right.
It opens up, in my opinion, a justifiable comparison from people who don't agree with this, or the people attacking queer people right now, to go look at the hypocrisy that this can happen, and 26 million people who still subscribe to him are like, well, what are you going to do? Because again, if someone did do that on the other side, there would be a much bigger outcry. Not to say that the other side doesn't turn a blind eye to their quote unquote icons that do bad things like this, but us on the side of having progressive views and progressive people and mentalities, shouldn't we have a little bit more like accountability?
I was just going to say, holding this person accountable for what they've done. And I feel like there was like a moment where we did. And then all of a sudden it was just one day we all woke up and we're like, oh yeah, that's yesterday's news. And that's also a problem that I have with the beauty industry. And we talked about this too, of like when people want to cancel somebody, it's like, you can't put that on your college resume or like, like, oh, like this is what I've done. You can't put that on a job resume either. It's like, it's just weird to me too. It's like, when this happens and something of this caliber and it's very serious, this doesn't just go away. And I think this is the problem too with this thinking and this society and the generation. It's like, oh, that will just go away.
Yeah.
We could talk about it. Like, I'll have my stance now, but 30 days from now, 6 months from now, it's going to be gone and that'll resolve itself.
Yeah.
Not if you don't do anything about it.
I know.
Something has to be done. There needs to be consequences when something this serious happens. It's unacceptable.
It also makes you contemplate and reveals the like misogyny within the beauty world, that some of these girls, like these poor girls, they can live in this space where they either can get very, very famous and very successful only doing the makeup the way guys can't. But when they do something wrong, skewered. They are burned in the town square. People want them to be burned in the town square. Someone like a Michaela that had to literally leave social media for 2 months because a video resurfaced when she was 19 saying that she worked until 5:19 at night. And then the mascara thing, which that's a little bit more damnable if there was lying involved. However, compared to things Jeffree and James have done, child's play. And people wanted her burned alive. And then James Charles admits to sending nudes to underage people. Everyone almost has the mentality of like, I want to go to my girls for the non-problematic makeup things. Yay, good for them. And if they do something wrong, death to all of them. But then you have the guys. It's like almost like, I haven't watched a guy in a while. What drama are they up to? That's almost the mentality where we forgive the drama more.
Just how you said it too. I feel like people turn to queer people for the drama.
Mm-hmm.
They turn to queer people in the sense of like, well, there's got to be something going on with you. You're so problematic.
So to the queer people that almost like it or capitalize on it, do you understand what you're doing to everybody else?
Yeah. That you're making issues now for you. That you have to second guess yourself every time you post something or say something in a comedy video. Who is this offending and how is this going to get taken? This is not healthy.
If I had to think, the biggest queer person that is the least involved in drama would be like a Nikki Tutorials, but it's only 100%. Because she literally doesn't get involved with anybody. She isolates herself. Like if she has anybody on her channel, it's Lady Gaga. She's not having other influencers the way those influencers were having, inter-influencer mingling, if you will. She stays in her lane. She does makeup and even look how long it took her to come out, which she only came out because someone was going to out her. Even this recent, I'm sure you've seen all over TikTok, like Jeffree Star's recent press tour where he's like trying to act like he had nothing to do with the failure of the beauty community. Have you seen? I feel like my TikTok has been flooded with him on all of these like podcasts recently where he blatantly said, someone asked him a question along the lines of like, to kind of address Tati and James Charles. And he was like, oh, they ruined the beauty community. As though he had nothing to do with it. And people buy it. I just don't understand.
Well, either you want to be involved at the time or you don't. And you can't deny that you weren't involved in that downfall and that like peaks and valleys of back and forth video commentary. Like you were part of it. You literally said, you want the real tea. I'll post the tea. Like you can't say that you weren't part of that.
I know.
And whether or not you regret it or not now, you can't deny that you didn't say those things. Come on.
Acted like he's literally every interview he's given has been as though he was a Allie Glines who just was sitting back watching it happen.
And it's one thing if you did, but you directly
you were
involving,
elbow deep in it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Lip oils.
Lip oils. Oh my
God. Yeah. Fun. Oh yeah. Future of beauty.
We did have, we pulled up, like we were brainstorming the other day about things that were really, I don't know, quote unquote, like what are the trends right now? Ooh, I think another great thing, clean beauty. Clean beauty. Everybody. And that is one thing I love just followers for calling out. Like when everyone always says like, oh, clean beauty. And everyone's in the comments like, in the United States, that means nothing.
There's no regulations.
Formaldehyde is on the clean list.
Is it really?
Yes. And all they do, they put it under another name, like ammonium flyglycolate or whatever. And as
I went to high school with her, yeah.
Yeah. I think that was from Legally Blonde. That's the thing, the perm. That's what They always say even with like pressed pigments and eyeshadow palettes. Like I think in the EU, there's like almost 1,300 ingredients banned. And I think in the United States, there's like 10.
I mean, look at how many lawsuits there's been. The Huda lawsuit with the neon pressed pigments. Now, obviously, Morphe is involved in that lawsuit that's going to be coming up of all the pressed pigments and eyeshadows and like the staining. And I even remember the Anastasia palettes, the Norvina Pros, they had to start putting stickers on them saying for face and body.
Yeah.
Not intended for eyes.
Yes.
Which is crazy because majority of those pressed pigments.
I know.
So it is very interesting too, because I was reading an article too that there was about clean skincare, clean makeup and everything that I didn't realize, and very recently, that it's not regulated.
No.
And yes, it's like free of a lot of ingredients that I'm like, okay, yeah, you don't want that in your skincare, in your makeup, but it's also too, it's not regulated. So that list can be ever changing from day to day.
Exactly.
It's amazing too, the amount of brands that go clean. And I'm like, okay, but this brand has been around for years. They haven't changed anything. Why is it now clean?
I know. Yeah. And I mean, I even remember, and again, allegedly for legal reasons, I remember working for certain brands that when the whole clean sticker at Sephora was coming out, where they were on the gondolas, there was a lot of talks of like, from the brand side of it, our stuff is clean, but we're not gonna, drumroll, pay for the sticker. There was a lot of weird shit going on where it was like brands would be clean, but there was on the Sephora side, it was like, okay, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like where it was basically, let's just say for, again, legal reasons, there was certain hoops we needed to jump through to get the clean sticker on our gondola.
That ties into the like cruelty-free bunny too. That like paying for the bunny is like astronomical amounts of money, and it's like you are cruelty free, but then that line of like if your products are even like routed through China and can be sold there, it's like automatic no. But in the US, they're not tested on animals. So it's like that weird line too. So it's like you're also paying an astronomical amount of money for a bunny on your gondola.
You guys know, well, I probably say more than I should, but let's just say I did a brand deal recently. It was all about conscious beauty, basically cruelty-free, vegan, sustainable packaging, so on and so forth. And I had included something that via my own research, I knew is cruelty-free and fact-checked it through blah, blah, blah. I couldn't include it in the video because the brand was telling me it's not cruelty-free. But it was only because on their highlighted list of things that it wasn't highlighted. And I'm like, but it is. Like, I know it is. And here we go back to the difference of what is actually these things versus, again, speculatory and allegedly here, but what we're paying to say is. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, and this is where it gets super, super shady.
I just feel some type of way too, because it's like, there have been many a times where people will say, I only use clean makeup. I only use clean skincare for so many different reasons too. Like, I used to teach classes where we had to use things that were clean for people that were like cancer survivors and everything. So there are a lot of ingredients that have to be like free of like fragrance and everything like that, you know. But I even sometimes questioned, I was like, well, this says it says it's fragrance free, but then you go read the ingredient list and I'm like, there's fragrance towards the end of this. I was like, so what is it? Like, is this actually true? And I'm like, I feel uncomfortable recommending these things and like letting people use these if it's not right. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's not going to be like attached to me. I was like, no way.
So I guess fragrance free doesn't mean fragrance free. Fragrance free means it's below a certain percentage. Of threshold of fragrance.
Well,
that's not fragrance free.
Well, that's the thing too, is that if it's below a certain percentage of like whatever ingredient it is. So if you don't know too, if you go on your ingredient list of skincare, makeup, whatever, but more importantly, skincare, if you go in, I think it's like the first, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something along the lines of it's like the first 7 to 10 ingredients are your most potent.
The more first it is on the list,
more potent ingredient.
It literally is listed from the highest percentage to the lowest percentage.
Right.
So for argument's sake, if the first ingredient is water, that means there's 90% water. And if the last ingredient is blah, 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 that means it's 0.0001%. It's highest to lowest.
If it's a moisturizer, that's like vitamin C, and vitamin C is all the way at the end. It cracks me up that it's like all these like fillers and all of these other things too, like preservatives are like smack in the middle. And then it's like your active ingredients are all the way at the bottom. And it's like your retinol, vitamin C, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you really paying for at that point? And that's why it's so hard for people to navigate through this too, of like where this industry is going. And it's so misleading sometimes.
It really is. And that's why I love on TikTok. And I've come across a couple who are literally like these beauty chemists that kind of debunk and read through. Like this one woman I found, she was reading through, what the hell is their line? The Neutrogena.
The Hydro
Boost moisturizer. And she like literally was saying, she's like, there's like nothing in this. It's 90% fillers. Like she's like, for this price, she's like, not that it's not going to do something, but she's like, for even the price they're selling it at, this could be so much more potent. She's like, but it's not, because she knows, breaking down the ingredients the way it's listed, she's like, I could formulate a moisturizer at this price point that is so much more powerful than this, because she goes through the ingredients and she knows the difference, what to look for. So some of the other things we had for the future beauty was, oh my God, we have to talk about, so we have glowy skin written down, but it made me think the other day about, I just was telling you, a new Guerlain foundation came out, because I posted about the Gucci foundation and how I've been trying all the fashion house brands to see which one really is the best. And someone commented saying, oh, Guerlain. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Guerlain. So I go to the website, whatever, and conveniently.
Is this the one that's the oxymoron? All over it?
The worst oxymoron I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I go to the website and they coincidentally just released a new foundation. I'm like, oh my God, let me look. I'll still review whatever, but I wanted to see what the finish was, because I know for me, a natural or a matte finish is going to be much better. And I'm reading the description of this foundation and it says a luminous, natural, matte finish. So luminous means glow. Natural means half glow, half no glow, like in natural, and matte means no glow. So how do we have a glow in the middle, no glow product? Like, can we stop just throwing every buzzword and the kitchen sink on a product description to try to get everybody on board? It goes back to the fast fashion conversation. They're not looking for long-term success. They want to throw every buzzword at this, so anyone looking for a matte, natural, or luminous finish foundation runs out and buys this. It obviously can only be one of those things, so 2 out of 3 are going to be disappointed, but it's too late. They made their money. They don't care, and they'll be on to the next thing.
Okay, so this it infuriates me more, too, because I almost feel like, too, there are a lot of, and you and I can both attest to this, that working in a makeup store, too, sometimes people don't know the right verbiage of what they're looking for. So when people would come in and even say, like, matte lip gloss. So it's that same thing where it's like, you're giving me 2 different finishes, but you want the same product. So then we try and we kind of have to puzzle pieces together of what you're looking for, which is fine. But it's almost like what you're saying. It's like, okay, let me Google a foundation. And so I'm looking for a luminous natural matte.
Yeah.
To like do all these things, and then now Guerlain is going to get that Google search and it's going to come up, and they're probably going to pay top dollar for that to come up. It infuriates me because they're taking advantage of these people, and they're basically saying that, like, okay, you don't know what you're looking for, but we're about to tell you because you're not using this right verbiage. We're about to like give you and school you on everything. You're about to like look up, even though it doesn't even make sense. And I feel like they almost know it, or maybe they don't, because they're just
that's the conversation. That's even scarier. I almost would prefer them being nefarious, because if it's lack of education, that's worse to me.
That
you don't know what you're
that
doing
high up, and you're like, let's name this, and it's the intern going luminous natural matte. That's what I mean.
Matte. If you, Guerlain, think luminous natural matte is physically possible in the laws of
we
physics,
need to talk.
That's scarier.
Well, because then at that point, what are you doing? You have a matte foundation that you put a little drop of oil and then some shimmer in there, and you're like, well, that's a luminous natural matte.
Well, that makes me realize how much like misinformation there is when I post certain things. I posted a barber skit a while ago where she was asking for a matte gloss. If I didn't have 100 people in my comments saying that exists, okay, just because the brand called it that, again, misinformation, doesn't mean the laws of physics allow that to happen. And it just baffles me that brands capitalize on almost confusing people to sell these things. And like we just talked about it even with the e.l.f. contour wands that just came out. These e.l.f. contour wands have been, everyone and their mother's talking about them.
Right.
They're not cool tone. They're not contours. They're liquid bronzers.
Right. And because, and it's interesting too, because people will just see contour and be like, oh, I need that.
Exactly.
And their bronzer, oh, I have one already.
Or the next time I post a contour video, they're going to be like, well, what's a contour now? Because they bought a contour wand that's warm, and here I am making a video saying contour is cool.
Well, and that's even the deceiving thing too, because with the Urban Decay House Labs, all of those liquid lipsticks that, dry down.
Yes, the ones they dry down, they don't transfer, but they still are shiny. Yeah, that new technology, exactly.
So somebody would classify that as a glossy matte.
Yes, even though it's not.
But because matte is not.
No shine. So it's a long-lasting satin, glossy
vinyl,
lipstick.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's just, oh my God, it is so frustrating.
It's maddening. It's maddening.
It really is.
Okay, I need to tell you about what my experience was this past weekend flying United Airlines. So Casey and I had to go to a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
In Virginia.
How was that?
Oh, I will never fly United again in my life.
Stop. I always fly United.
So we get 2 nonstop flights because it's like an hour and a half, if that, to and from. And we literally were going to fly in the day of the wedding, fly out the next day. About maybe 4 days before we go, they change our flight to Virginia to a stop in Washington, D.C. Do they offer a credit for now downgrading us from a nonstop to a connecting flight? No. Why do you charge more for a nonstop then? So that's number 1 that pissed me off. 2, they schedule the layover where we would have had 5 minutes to run to the gate. And then when we're leaving Newark, they push the flight back like 20 minutes. So now we're supposed to land in Washington, D.C. when the connection takes off. So we're like saying to people in Newark, I'm like, why would United even do this? And they were like, well, the initial one you would have been able to make in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. So we weren't even going to bother because I'm like, we're not going to make the connection. And lo and behold, when we land in Washington, D.C., we're sitting there. So we choose to rent a car in Washington, D.C. and just drive to Richmond, Virginia, which is like 2 hours because I know we're not going to make this connection. And again, we land in, by the time we get off the plane in Washington, D.C., the flight was supposed to leave, not board, leave 10 minutes before we get off the thing. So I'm like, we're not even going to bother. The wedding was that day at 5 o'clock. And right now it's like maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, we don't have time to play with this. So we rent a car. We're on the shuttle from the Washington, D.C. airport to the Enterprise rent-a-car area on the shuttle. So now this is almost 15 minutes after the flight was supposed to take off. That is when I get a text saying, now this flight is delayed 20 minutes. So if we had gone to the gate, which was God only knows how far away, we might have made this connection, but they don't send me a text saying that the flight was delayed till 15 minutes after the flight was supposed to take off. So we didn't even bother going to the gate because time was a factor. Whatever, rent a car, drive there, do that. Next day, we go to check into the flight from Richmond to home, and we can't check in. It says we have to talk to an attendant. So we go to the thing. We start saying, like, okay, what's going on? And the woman, you would think, I felt like it was an SNL skit where they took someone off the street to work at United for a day who had never done anything like this before. She goes, did you do your connecting flight? And we're like, no, we didn't. We missed the flight. Like, so we just drove. She literally says to us, well, yeah, like you never checked into that connecting flight, like flight 2 out of 3, if you will. So I can't select the third.
What?
And I'm looking at her like, okay, what do you, like, as though I was supposed to give her a solution. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, girl. I don't work here. Like, you fix this, like, or ask someone.
But it was their problem, though. It was their problem
Yes.
with the flight that you weren't even going to make this connecting flight originally. Yes. So I'm confused as to why this is now your problem trying to get home.
Yeah, and is talking to me with the candor of like, what do I do? I'm like, I don't know, girl. What do I do?
Yeah.
You tell me
you want
what
me to fly the plane?
Yes. So she ends up like looking into it, whatever. She is literally calling like the same 1-800 number I would call and is like on hold. So she ends up like figuring out whatever. She prints our boarding passes from Richmond to Newark, hands us the boarding passes. Kevin, as God is my witness, she goes just like this, hands us the boarding passes. I take them and I'm like, okay, so like everything's good. She goes, literally a teeth suck and a double finger cross. And at this point, I have no chill. I'm like so fed up.
You know what I just thought you said? I thought you said what? I thought you said a teeth suck and a double finger cross.
A teeth suck
and I was like,
and a double finger cross.
And I was like, well, yeah. I wouldn't put it past her. So she just like was like, oh, okay, so that's it.
And
Good
just
luck.
And
God willing.
And I say, so I have no chill at this point. I go, no. I quote, I go, no, why are you crossing your fingers? What does that mean? And she just then starts stuttering and goes like, well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping. And I'm like, so this is going to work at the gate? You just work for United and you're handing me boarding passes and go, let's hope. No,
call a supervisor.
What are you talking about? Basically, we had to go to the website to get reimbursed for the fact that you downgraded our nonstop to a connection in the first place. Reimburse us for the rental car because that was your fault. And we filed it all online and they tell us we'll get back to you in 2 to 8 weeks.
Good.
I just don't understand the monopoly of the flights, like how it's still this poorly run, but it was an absolute nightmare.
And this episode is brought to you by United.
Literally.
Oh my God. Yeah. So JetBlue from now on.
100%.
Got it. Yeah. All right.
I was looking at Delta, like, I miss you. I miss you, Delta.
That is like, okay, but I've heard, wasn't there like issues with United before too? Wasn't there like people getting dragged off of planes and stuff by United people? Like United has just been problematic.
Unhinged. I know, unhinged.
What is going? And I've always flied United. I've never had a problem.
Horrible.
Never had a problem.
Absolutely.
What is
horrible.
going on? Well, good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I stumbled across this article just kind of looking at like 2023 trends.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across this article that it was like 8 trends that need to stop. And I was like, okay, like let's see where this goes. So I click on it, whatever. And I shit you not, it says, so here's a list of outdated makeup trends we would definitely be leaving behind. So here's my thing too with this article, that I feel as if this article was written by someone that was so uneducated that they had to use Chat GPT to fill in the. I know, I'm not even joking. I'm convinced there was like the 8 or 9 bullet points, and it literally sounded like somebody was like, okay, I'm going to fill out this first one and then just Chat GPT the rest. It was horrible. So it starts off, there's a creator. I'm going to butcher your name, and I'm so sorry. I love you. Her name is, I want to say it's Nazira or Nazra Looks.
Yes.
She does all those super creative, beautiful,
gorgeous.
I mean, just outrageous looks. So of course, it's like, here's all the trends that we're leaving behind. And it is a photo of her right underneath that. And then just bullet points all of the things that we're leaving behind. So they literally said, oh, that look, that's her. What we're leaving behind.
Her. Yeah, we're leaving behind her.
Mind you, stunning. And she did a milk campaign. So if you go into Sephora now, you'll see her, and she is just always exquisite. And it was like these weird trends. It's like, we're leaving behind white eyeliner because it opens up your eyes. I was like, what is going on? Like, I want to know who wrote this article. It's like, defined eyebrows. We're leaving them behind.
That's what I would imagine if I read an article saying trends we're leaving behind. It would be almost like application techniques as far as like more universal things, not things that are like creative expression.
Do you want to know what number 4 was?
Oh, God.
I love this one. Nude lipstick. That's what we're leaving behind this year.
Who are you?
Nude lipstick, heavy concealer, unnatural lashes, overly outlined lips. I swear to you, this sounds like you put in 9 makeup trends into
2022
GPT,
makeup trends and then just copied and pasted it.
I'm not joking. Now you're getting the credibility like for writing this article, and some basic Betty is going to read this article and believe all of it and go into Sephora and Ulta and be like, I can't use these 9 things.
And I don't even understand the motivation, because this goes back to what we're talking about the divisiveness of like, what's your point? Like, so you're making this entire article where let's take 9 things or whatever that people chose to do from a creative standpoint. I like wearing white eyeliner. That creator came up with brilliant artistic things. Let's now tell the general public not to do them anymore, because why? Who the hell are you?
You're going to not only take down makeup trends, but then you're going to take down a creator, not credit her of like under anywhere and say,
of course they don't want to tag her.
Oh, of course not. And it's just laughable to me because we see this all the time. But this one really struck a chord with me just because it's like you're taking very generalized, like defined eyebrows. We're leaving those behind, and there is no explanation under each one, and it is so vague and it just misleading.
I know.
Like, mind your business. Makeup is a creative process. That's why there's thousands of products. Create the looks that you want.
I know.
I never understood when they were like, oh, red lipstick is so out.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Don't tell me what to do.
What is this, 1993? Like when they used to talk like that all the time of like, this is out, this is in. What are you saying?
Oh, we have to talk about this on a future episode of like the makeup trends. That like old makeup tutorials. It's like, well, you don't want to wear red and you don't want to look like a hooker.
And of course, the funniest thing about it is it's like a woman doing it, but it's like a man's voiceover. Basically, the point of it was like, this is how men want you to wear your makeup. And it was some guy being like, a woman applies rouge with a spatula and then makes dinner. Like, it was so, and we're just like, like, it is painful.
I'm going to slap the gloss right off of you. It's very, it was very
that's what it's giving.
Geared towards men. And that's what this is too, is that it's like, where is this survey that you're asking people what they don't want more of?
Who's this Regina George?
Yeah, that's right. That's like, you can't wear eyeliner anymore. No white eyeliner for the rest of the year.
I don't get it, man.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of these articles. And that one just like, I was completely turned off. I was like, get away from me.
I know.
Stop.
I almost wish, especially like we're talking about the future of beauty, it makes me wish that almost the worlds merged a little bit more, where I feel like your popular brands that are everywhere that go viral all the time are the ones that we're saying are like riddled with misinformation, riddled with mislabeling, riddled with false advertising of glossy, matte, glowy, no shine this. But then you're the ones that are more helpful to the general consumer. I just did a PR unboxing with my fiance, and it was Lancome eyeshadow palette, and I opened it up, and he noticed when you flip it open, it basically had like the old school diagram of like, this is where this goes, but kind of more not in the sense of like this is what it needs to do. It was almost more explaining like, this is a transition color, this is this. And he's like, I've never seen that before. And I said, I'm like, yeah, that is like a little bit more of like an old school thing of a more helpful, like, okay, this would be here, yada, yada, yada. I almost wish there was a merging where there was more of that simplicity in teaching people what the basics of what goes where. What is a transition color? What is a contour?
Okay.
What is this? With the new age formulas and the technology and the coolness of it. Because I almost feel like it's like we're still at the other end of the spectrum where when you do buy a palette that tells you what goes where, the formula is horrendous. Like it's some CoverGirl palette that's chalky and terrible that comes with like a styrofoam applicator. And then your high-end stuff that is not high-end price-wise, I mean, your more, viral or predominantly used products, they're the ones doing the exact opposite where they're confusing the hell out of everybody. Like, I wish it merged in that sense.
Do you know who used to do it perfectly, though? And I think they probably still sell this product, was the Kevin Kwan contour book.
Yes.
That when you would open that up, there would be like this little divider, if you will, between the mirror and the actual product. And it was a face chart of contour, bronzer, blush, highlight, and it was like sweep this way, blend this way, blend up, not down. And it was very cool. And that's what I even miss about the Kevin Kwan isms, if you will, that it was more of a teacher coming out with this makeup line, that it was very like heartfelt from an artist rather than like we're pumping out the Alice in Wonderland palette. Good luck.
I know. And it's just crazy because that's the thing too. I guess it also goes into, and I've talked about it a lot. Me and Robert Welch talked about it on the episode I had him on, just about education. Like, I hope it goes more in that vein again, because to be honest with you, I can't deal with the fast fashion of it all, of like products coming out every 5 seconds. Like, and it's so funny to me how one brand comes out with something that might do well, and then it's like you're just waterboarded with every brand coming out with it. Like lip oils. We have one brand come out with lip oils, and then it was actually a really funny TikTok Michaela made at the end of the pH lip oil trend, where some brand, I think it was Tarte or whatever, came out with lip oils, and it was like maybe 8 colors, and she swatches them all on her arm and they all look like clear, and she's like, can we stop? Like, can we stop? And then it transitioned. Now we're in the tinted lip oil trends, where Rare Beauty came out with them. Makeup by Mario came out with the tinted lip oils. And it's just the same thing, lather, rinse, repeat. It starts a bigger conversation of like, where does the buck stop? You know what I mean? Because it's like the brands are always going to do it. The influencers are the one promoting it, and they're the ones kind of setting the tone for the conversation. And then the consumers also are the ones buying it and are showing the interest. So it's like, who has the biggest responsibility to kind of break this cycle? Do brands stop making quantity over quality? Do influencers focus on education over, here's a new cream blush, here's a new cream blush, oh my God, another cream blush? Gun to my head, I think it falls on the influencers, because the brands are always going to do what they're going to do to make money. And like Robert said in our podcast, brands are more influenced by influencers than consumers are. So what influencers choose to talk about and the kind of content they choose to create is what brands will then start to make products for. I can't deal anymore with like swiping on my newsfeed and every influencer is just making videos about, this is brand new. Oh my God, this lip oil came out, and this lip oil came out, and this lip oil came out. Stop.
Well, and every brand is trying to get on the bandwagon of like, Dior does really well with lip oils and they go viral for, or lip liners, makeup forever. It's whatever product goes viral, then these brands, then, I can imagine that they sit in this like round table discussion of like, okay, when do we put this out? How many colors? When do we do it? How quick can we do it?
What's everybody ferret over this week?
And I'm like, and it is that where these brands try and like one up each other, but it's the same repetitive nature of these products. Come out with something new, come out with something that's, you're going to look back one day and feel like, okay, like, yeah, we came out with this and now this is a staple in everybody's household.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Doesn't any brand want to make the thing anymore? You like NARS concealer. Doesn't anybody else want a radiant creamy concealer? Like that has become, they've never come out with another concealer other than the matte pots, which are still just as good. And that's stuck around for years.
Exactly.
Where are the brands hungry for their legacy products?
you hit the nail on the head. It's the legacy products. It's the Anastasia Modern Renaissance. And we've talked about that multiple times now, where it's that product that like set you apart from everybody else, that it caused you to kind of like rethink too and be like, oh, well, I don't have anything like that. Maybe I will get that.
Yeah.
Where now it's like these cookie cutter, like, okay, here's a palette. Here you go.
I know.
Put it out and it's $45 and we'll make the money and discontinue it next month. Keep it going.
And you know what it is too? A lot of it, you want like real insider tea here. When I worked for Laura Mercier, I think a lot of it has to do with the people who work in product development for these brands have no business working in product development.
They have no pulse on what people want.
And they have no makeup experience. They don't do makeup themselves. And I said, it was like the global artist I was with one time for Laura Mercier. And I said to them, I was like, listen, give me the tea here, because it was some holiday palette they came out with, Laura Mercier, and it was like a $65 eyeshadow palette with like 8 colors, and they were awful. They were chalky. They were no pigment. It was awful. And I said to him, what is the tea here? What is this? What is this? And he said to me, here we go. To be honest with you, he goes, there's 3 people that work in product development, and they don't know how to do makeup. They conceptualize these products based on trend, based on market research, business, not artistry, not quality, not performance, not anything. Then they basically pitch said products to, and I'm going to generalize here for time, the board of whether it's going to be made into a real thing or not, but it has to go through the global artists. So he's like, the 3 of us global artists sit down at the table, and basically before the meeting, we're told by product development, you better make all of these things sound like the best thing you've ever tried.
Wow.
So all those 3 makeup artists that have had 20, 30 years experience, knowing it is literal shit, need to sit there and talk about all the positives about it to get it made. Because product development has spent how many months and how many millions of dollars getting this product to this point. So you better not say it's shit. And that's why it's made.
Well, what's the point of even asking for my input then? Just leave me out of the conversation.
Politics.
That is so irritating to me.
It was like when I worked for Burberry, and a woman visited who literally worked for product development, was making the Burberry makeup, and the global artist is doing her makeup and doing like a little like class for me and Alyssa, the other girl who worked with me. She's taking a contour wand, putting it here, which, mind you, contour wands should be here, and then blended up. So this is nice and highlighted, and then your contour is its deepest here and then feathers up. She's putting the contour where it should be and then blending it down, giving this woman a beard. And me and Alyssa are sitting there like, eye twitching, like, oh, that looks great. And then the woman asked the woman who works in product development, because she's trying to figure out whether she should do the matte foundation or the glowy foundation on her. She goes, what do you normally wear? Without missing a beat, the woman who works in product development, creates the makeup for Burberry Beauty at the time, goes, I don't wear makeup.
I want to know how these people get these jobs, because that was always like one of my biggest things too. I would have loved to be in product development.
It's all who you know. I'll never forget, my sister went to FIT and she worked product development in fashion, and she had a woman come, I don't know, let's say, I think it was from like Chanel or whatever. And she came to the Fashion Institute to kind of do this like little class or whatever the hell it was for the group of FIT students. And my sister's sitting there, and she knew how difficult it was when she was at FIT to get an internship with like a product development internship with one of the, like a really good fashion brand. And the way the intern with the woman who worked at Chanel was talking kind of like just made my sister be like, okay, what's going on here? And she's very much like me, where like, we're going to call a spade a spade. And she raises her hand and like pretty much, and maybe I'm paraphrasing, but she pretty much asked the girl, the intern, and goes, like, how did you get this internship or whatever? Like, did you major in, you know, fashion or product development, whatever, without missing a beat? The girl's like, no. She's like, I majored in English. But guess what? The girl knew someone. The girl, whoever this intern was, my auntie worked for Chanel, so I got the Chanel internship. This is all it is. I ran into a girl one time at a bar that told me she was an intern for MAC product development. And I said, I was like, and I flat out, I probably insulted her, but I'm like, did you know someone? And she goes, yeah. A relative of hers worked at MAC.
Oh my God.
And this is the problem. It's just there's so few positions at the top that these people, the nepotism or the who you know or what school you went to, they have no business. And this isn't just for makeup and cosmetics. It's with everything. But I think this is why it's just this epidemic of quantity over quality. Because these people have no business being in the industry. And the most qualified people, 9 times out of 10, are the last people able to get the opportunity.
Yeah, their resumes thrown in the garbage before they even look at them.
Exactly. Or they're people like me that bail on that opportunity because I knew I was going to have more success turning on the camera and sharing my expertise with people directly.
Wow.
Why bother climbing this ladder and making, probably I would have started at $40,000, being an intern if I was lucky enough to get the one position, fighting all the people who worked in Manhattan whose parents paid their rent in the village, majoring in English, but their auntie worked for Mac. Why am I going to fight to get that one position when I just turned on the camera and I got to share my expertise directly with people?
And even who knows, even if you got a job like that too, you have to even wonder how much of a pull would you have to get things actually, like if you're like, I want X, Y, and Z and this would kill, they're going to be like, well, we don't really think so. So we're just going to go with that. Like,
well, then
who
it's
knows
the
how
Laura
much
Mercier story. The guy who, and that's what woke me up even back when I was freelancing, where I said, I'm like, wait, so you're the global makeup artist for Laura Mercier. And I knew for a fact that the 3 of them that they were like with Laura as these global makeup artists for like 20 years. I'm like, if you're the apex of where I want to be a global makeup artist for a brand, and you're telling me you're getting bullied by nothing product developers telling you to say the products they're making are amazing, I don't want that job.
No. Absolutely
so there's
not.
nowhere to go. Look at even my interview with Erin Parsons. She said the same thing. She was hustling, busting her ass, became a fashion makeup artist, working with Pat McGrath and then doing runway shows, Jean-Paul Gaultier, etc. And she said COVID made everything come to a halt. And she fell in love more with just turning on the camera and having a career in social media where she can share her expertise directly with followers rather than be in this industry that is so messed up and convoluted. It's not even
this is the only way to
trying.
get your voice heard too. So it's like, you don't have to go through 8 other people. It's like, well, this is this amazing idea right here. And then by the time it even gets, your voice has already been silenced and it's their word that's being heard.
I almost feel like the new wave is exactly these people that don't want to deal with the red tape in corporate world, don't want to do it anymore. So they turned on their camera and they got big. But I have to say now, I'm almost feeling really discouraged where now I feel like the new red tape, and maybe that's because social media has become so commoditized and corporate in a way that creators are so beholden to the algorithm that they're changing the kind of content they want to make for what's going to go viral. There needs to be a return on your investment. And I'm not even talking about money. When you put 10 hours of work into one video and you get 2,000 views on Instagram, when you have millions of followers, there's no point of making that kind of video. So many creators are just making what they know are going to go viral, the stupid clickbait videos, because it's not worth their time. So it's almost like these social media platforms now are ruining the honesty of what people like me and Erin Parsons love, being able to bring our expertise straight to the consumer. The social media platform's algorithm is ruining what you're putting out there.
And I even feel like that takes away even from Instagram, from where it started years ago, that social media was encouraged that you're supposed to be your unique self. And like basically Instagram, when it first came out, it was like, post whatever you want, do whatever you want, show us your unique creative self. And now if you don't create the reels that they want, forget about posting.
I know.
Social media posts, garbage.
I know.
I get notifications, make a reel to be seen today.
I know.
Don't tell me what to do. Now you're putting me into a box. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And it's like, oh, make a reel. We're going to come to your house.
I know.
Like it is so infuriating.
Do you watch Abbott Elementary?
No.
One of my favorite lines, Janelle James on that, is like, has a secret, like, kind of hatred or rivalry for Quinta Brunson's character. And my favorite line, I have a mug that says it. She comes into her office and she's like, have a good day. And Janelle James goes, she's like, don't tell me what kind of day to have. Like, and that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell me what content to make. Don't tell me what to do. But that's all it is anymore.
Yeah.
It's make this way. It's got to be filmed on this app. Use the green screen. Captions need to be made in the app. It's just, it's, if people knew the hoops you have to jump through to get one thing made. put one video out there, it's
and then
ruining everything.
But you'll do all of that work. You'll do everything right, and you're going by the book essentially, and then it doesn't get the engagement.
It's still
good.
Flops.
But I'm done.
It still flops.
It's like, and that's why I feel like even for me, it's intimidating to even want to put in that effort to make videos or make content, because I'm like, I don't want to do anything and it flops, or it sucks. And
worth your time.
Exactly. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't know if this is worth it for me, but you know what? You can't let that discourage you.
I know, you got to, and that's what I mean. People like what I put out there and what Rose and Ben puts out there. You just have to keep doing exactly what you want to do, and I don't know, mix it or whatever the case is, but you have to stay true to it. And going back to the whole following people with integrity, just like look for those people that are making that kind of content and are always sincere and always honest, because we need those people are the ones we need to start making the backbone and the pillars of this.
And also, too, I just want to point out, this is like a little tidbit. Just because somebody is doing brand deals or ads or whatever it is, that does not make them any less sincere.
Exactly.
So you need to also watch out for what they're saying, how they feel about certain things. But just because somebody does a brand deal doesn't mean that they're no longer a sincere, honest person because they're taking deals with a brand.
Will you even want, again...
That pisses me off.
Totally. I'll give you tea on my kind of things. I have another brand deal coming up with a brand that I love the product, but it's described as like in the description, like luminous matte or something. You better believe I sent an email to them and I said, listen, I very frequently discourage this kind of thing. What does this mean? What do you mean by this? I need verbiage from your mouth of what you're trying to say, because if not, I'm either going to
clarify it
or I'm going to be like, I don't know what to, I'm going to look at the camera when I review this and say, what does this mean? So you better tell me right now before I do this, what does this mean? Because,
good for you.
And that's what you have to do. Those are the kind of people maybe doing the deals or whatever the case is. I don't know. You just have to look into it more and be a little bit more specific in who you choose to follow and align yourself with. And now we're doing a new section, which is going to become everybody's new favorite section, I can anticipate, called Bitch That Bothers Me. Do you want to go first?
Oh my God. So I saw something that it relates to last week, which I felt like it was perfect timing. An article pops up yesterday, and then my friend actually sent it to me, and it was Patti Lupone. Did you see this?
I did. I saw something else.
She was on Watch What Happens Live. And she was like, and I think Andy Cohen had said something like, oh, how do you feel about the new season of American Horror Story? And they were like, how do you feel about Kim Kardashian? And she goes, I don't think she should be on. And she was bothered by it.
Yes.
And I said, good for you for standing up for it, though.
And she said exactly what we did. She goes, all the out-of-work actors.
All these actors that probably deserve this. And she doesn't. Why? She goes, get off the stage.
Yep.
And I absolutely respect her for that, because now she's going to be on the show and she goes, I don't want to act with her, basically. Like, no. But again, she's going to go into that episode and be like, oh my God.
Yep.
My salad's late.
Yes.
And then she's going to wither away. Like,
I know.
I'm like, get out. And the fact that Patti fucking Lupone is like, get away.
She is brutally honest.
I love her.
I know.
I love this woman for even saying that on television too. Be like, no, I don't want her here.
Yes.
And she doesn't deserve a place on the show because she's taking it seriously. This is an acting job. And Patty's taking it seriously, and she does not think that she is qualified.
I know. I'm so curious if Ryan Murphy's going to like say something about that. Patti Lupone's been on many seasons. I wonder if he's going to respond.
Incredible. And I give her a lot of credit for speaking up and against having her on, and good for you, Patti.
I know.
Work, bitch.
Good for you, Patti.
That pissed me off though, because it really still even last week, I was like, it gives me the ick.
I know.
And it really pissed me off. And the fact that she even spoke up and she was like, no, she doesn't deserve to be on. I was like, good for you, bitch.
Totally.
Love it. What is bothering you?
Meghan Trainor is bothering me. And so I don't know if you saw, but basically she had, what's that girl's name on her podcast?
Oh my God. Trisha
Paytas on our podcast, and they were talking about I think Meghan Trainor's having a second kid or something, or I don't know, and she was talking about homeschooling, and she basically is in the process, everyone's trying to cancel her because Meghan Trainor, because she said she was venting basically about, I'm homeschooling my kids because of how unsafe the schools are, et cetera, yada, yada. But then she says, fuck teachers on the interview. And it's caused this whole thing among teachers. Like, what did we do? Like, and the apology even that she came out with like a day later was so just, that's not what I meant. Like, I've had horrible experiences with teachers. My husband has. He was bullied by teachers, and it was all in my head, and it came out that way. I've had her blocked on Spotify, like for no new songs, for probably 3 years. I've never met anybody at this point that makes more TikTok-y, clickbaity music where it's just like, at this point, she's making songs with the intention of TikTok things, like where it's just like,
oh, 100%.
Yeah, I am proud, and I put my PJs on 1 foot at a time. Like, it's so kids bop nonsense. I blocked it on Spotify like years ago at this point. These public figures' lack of understanding, that's a podcast. You could have edited that out. It wasn't live. So you said it.
You are so right.
You said it. You thought there was nothing wrong with it, and you said, lights, camera, action, let's go live. And now that people are mad about it, now you have remorse. And again, we're going back to the James Charles, how much should people be crucified? But you need to take that into consideration when you're apologizing. Don't just give a blanket, I love teachers. Teachers have changed my life. Have a little bit more thought behind it, in the sense that you have to understand you said something that you literally could have taken it back before people got mad, and you didn't, because you didn't think there was anything wrong with it. So there just needs to be a little bit more consideration. And my botheredness doesn't even come from the fact that like you said something stupid, because everyone says something stupid. It is this new like wave we're living in, where when someone says something stupid, it consumes the narrative for a month. And my botheredness comes from the fact that it is given so much airtime, so much hot air. Nobody is worth that much air. Nobody is worth that much. So almost as a public figure or a celebrity, be more thoughtful to filter yourself, not for your own image, I don't care, to not take up all that space, to take up all of this airtime and distract everybody from things that matter.
And even that too, I feel like keeping it in and not editing that out, I feel like was almost like, oh, what can we say this week to get more engagement? And that's where I feel like whoever edits their podcast, I'm like, did you not think that you like, did you not catch that? Where it's like, that might have been like a little dicey. Let's not keep that in. Maybe you should rethink, like, what did you mean by this? Because that even sounds a little fishy. But it's like, oh, nope, that'll get the engagement.
You double down already.
And yeah and you're like, nope. So in that sense, and that just hit me too. When you said that, I'm like, well, that is a little messed up that you can literally have avoided this entire thing.
Yeah.
And now it's a problematic thing where you have to give that 30-second TikTok apology, and now it's all of a sudden going to be okay.
Consuming.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Beautiful and Bothered with me, Johnny Ross.
And Kevin Banzhaf.
Stay tuned next week for a brand new episode. Let us know what you think the future of beauty is as well. Comment down below, reply on Spotify. Let us know, because depending on where you want it to go, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, maybe we can talk about this more with your guys' input. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the official Beautiful and Bothered YouTube channel for weekly video episodes that you get a day early, as well as leave us a little 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because it helps us so much. Yes. Wherever you are, I hope you are happy, safe, and healthy. And remember,
you are beautiful.
Bye, guys.
Bye.